guys, I am back with a bit of a late pregnancy update. I apologize for the delay if you got concerned or excited or whatever that I might have delivered my baby this week. I have not as of yet, but it was a very exciting week with lots of things that have happened, and I'm gonna update you on all of them. So this video is gonna be a little bit different than my normal pregnancy updates where I go through my stats and answer your questions and show stuff. I'm not gonna do all of that today because I want to just tell you what's going on this week mainly, and the current status. And I think that's gonna be rather time consuming. And then if I haven't delivered by next week, I'll go back to my normal format. But it's been a very exciting week. So I normally film these updates the Monday before I post them. I post on Wednesday, I usually film on Monday. I flip into the new week on Sunday. So on this past Sunday, I flipped into 37 weeks of pregnancy, and normally I would film on Monday, but we had learned something at our doctor's appointment the week before that made me just want to wait until I saw the doctor again and have more information to update you. So basically, a week and a few days ago, I went to the doctor for my 36-week checkup with them. Just a normal appointment, pee in the cup, blood pressure, listen to the baby's heart, measure the fundal height. Everything was perfectly normal, baby measuring right on track, heartbeat at 145 or so, which has been pretty consistent throughout the pregnancy. Everything fine, right? But also, we had a quick little ultrasound scheduled that day to check to see on the position of the baby because my doctor wanted to be sure she was head down, and because it was an ultrasound, I wanted to bring Don. I haven't made Don come to all my appointments. He came to a lot of the ones in the beginning with the ultrasounds, and then of course the big ultrasound at 20 week when they do the anatomy scan. But I just felt more comfortable having him come with an ultrasound because you just never know what you're gonna see. Seeing the baby gives you more information, and it sure did, because we found out that she's breech. And what that means is instead of her head down in my lower uterus where it is optimally for delivery, for vaginal delivery, she is upside down. She's got her head up and her tush is down, and she's in a position called frank breech, and it's actually where basically the baby is folded in half. Her legs are up by her face. Literally, she like sucks on her toes. She's kind of stuck there. So this was really shocking because I had been just so convinced she was head down because I feel a lot of movement towards the upper part of my uterus, which I assumed was the feet, which actually is the feet, but her feet are actually at her face. So instead of her head being down and her feet up there kicking, it's her head and her feet are up there and she's kicking. And the doctor was rather surprised too because she had just kind of figured, she was head down as well. So that was a bit of a shock, and it was a little bit of an emotional day. It's not extremely common to have breech baby at almost 37 weeks of pregnancy. Apparently it's only about 3 to 4% of pregnant mommies have that situation, so it's not terribly common. I mean, it's not like it never happens, but usually the babies turn around by then, and there can be multiple factors that prevent them from doing that, which I'm going to go through in a minute that I think might be applicable to me, just based on my knowledge of myself. I don't know, and my doctor doesn't know what the actual reason is, but there are some things that are common with breech babies that I think I fall under that category. So anyway, I was super glad I brought Dawn with me because I was just kind of in shock. I really wasn't expecting it. And then after the ultrasound, the doctor, wanted to talk to us a bunch about options and things, and she's like, well, we could just go ahead and schedule a C-section for a couple weeks from now, or we can try to flip the baby. The things I can do at home, and then if that doesn't work, she can try to flip the baby manually, which is called an external version, and it's something they do at the hospital. So I, of course, I know plenty of people who have delivered by C-section. Both Don and his sister were delivered by C-section. They're perfectly normal, well adjusted, well bonded to their parents. I don't really have anything against C-sections, but I just personally rather have the experience of labor and a vaginal birth and all of the, after parts of that, having the baby, the skin to skin right away and all that. I just would prefer that if I can. So, we were like, well, we'd like to try to turn the baby. If that doesn't work, we'd like you to try to turn the baby. And if that doesn't work, then we'll go to the scheduled C-section. So that's what we decided that day. And honestly, I was a bit emotional about it. Like, it was just so surprising. Like, I wasn't prepared for it, really. So I decided to hold off on telling you guys until after my appointment the following Wednesday. So this week, just a few days ago, we went back to the doctor for another ultrasound and just my regular checkup. And again, the regular checkup was the same thing. Everything's perfectly normal. But they did the ultrasound, and what my plan was to film the video after the ultrasound when I kind of had a few days to kind of let the news seep in and feel more at peace with the bigger possibility of a C-section, and just be able to explain things to you better and know better, because we had worked really hard. Well, really just me. I had worked really hard over the previous 5 days between the week before appointment and my appointment this week on Wednesday. My doctor had recommended I visit this website called spinningbabies.com. I'll put a link to it below. It's apparently got a lot of really valuable information on ways to encourage and help your baby turn on their own, to encourage movement and also to help with kind of your uterine balance or whatever. So I had been working really hard on that. You might have noticed I've been pretty MIA. It's actually rather time consuming to do all the things. I've been trying to do as many of them as possible. The ones that I've been doing personally are breech tilt, and that's where, actually, if you watched my vlog that I posted a few days ago, I mentioned kind of that, as a side remark, that there was a random ironing board in our family room that doesn't usually belong there. Breech tilt is where you basically lay in an inverted position, so with your head below your feet on a supported surface for 20 minutes a couple of times a day, 2 to 3 times a day. And it's supposed to just kind of help bring the baby out of the pelvis and give her more room to turn. And so that's why the ironing board is in there. I've been doing that a few times a day for 20 minutes at a time. And while I do that, I put, I have these belly bud ear, they're for pregnancy specifically. I showed them in an update a while ago. These little headphones that kind of suction onto your belly. So I've been playing music down at the lower end of my uterus that I know she likes. She really likes Christmas music, and I can tell because she gets really excited when I start listening to it. So I have been piping music down there, and I put a warm compress down there to just make the bottom of the uterus really inviting, and I lay a cold pack at the top of my uterus to make that less inviting. These are all safe for the baby. It's just things to kind of encourage her, right? So I've been doing that. I've been doing the forward facing inversion, and that's kind of where you hang off the couch kind of in a shoulder stand position for 30 seconds several times a day. And again, that's to kind of help lift the baby out of the pelvis, but also help kind of stretch the ligaments at the bottom of your uterus to make room for the baby. So I've been doing those things. I've continued to see my acupuncturist throughout my pregnancy. So she's been helping me address the breech baby. I saw her twice in the last week. To help with that. And also I've been doing something called moxibustion, which is part of traditional Chinese medicine, and it's something I'm actually familiar with from my fertility journey. It's something I did during my fertility journey to kind of help with fertility. You can just use, it's basically this mugwort incense stick that you use at certain acupressure points on your body for certain conditions. And with trying to flip a baby, you just use it on the outside of your pinky toe. The spinningbabies.com website has a lot of information about all of these. If you guys want to know more, I'm not going to go through everything in really huge detail, but I've been doing that every night, and that really stimulates fetal movement, and she's been moving a ton from all of this. And I've also been doing a self-hypnosis program that I downloaded from hypnobabies.com. Again, this was another Spinning Babies recommendation. It's a 40-minute guided, I think of it more as like a guided meditation. I don't really feel like I'm being hypnotized, but you know what I mean. Hypnosis and meditation are sort of kind of in the same realm. And that is just more to get your mind in the right place. And actually people swear by it. It has a really high success rate, and I've just found it really calming and grounding, and just to help me it's just felt like I've been able to connect with the baby and really communicate with her, and I can tell that she enjoys it because she moves a ton after it, and I can tell she's been trying to turn, she just hasn't been able to. So in addition to that, the last thing I've been doing over this past week and a half is I have gone to a chiropractor to have the Webster technique performed on me. This is a very specialized thing that only certain certified chiropractors do to address specifically breech babies. And the thinking behind it is that a lot of women who have breech babies have sacrums that are off kilter, which causes their uteruses to be kind of shaped funny. They can be a little twisted, they can be a little off, which can create less room for the baby to be in an optimal position, which might lead to a breech baby in the first place. So I already know that I have sacrum issues. I've had issues with my left SI joint for years and years and years. I usually, please excuse my language, but I usually call it my chronic ascites. I don't talk about it a lot. It's just a problem I've always kind of had in my adult life. But I know that things are off. I am terrified of chiropractors, but this is how important it is to me to try to flip this baby that I actually went to a chiropractor, and I prepared myself beforehand and kind of got myself up. I got the courage to go by watching a couple of videos on YouTube of other people performing this technique to see what it was. And it's not the traditional chiropractor stuff where they're like turning your neck and like pushing on your back. It's just honestly that you lie, they check your alignment just by like looking at your feet and stuff. When you like bend your legs, you lie stomach down in a special pregnancy pillow on a special table, and the table like cranks up and down a little bit, but it's very gentle, and they just kind of apply a little very light pressure while they do that. It takes literally 20 seconds. And then after that, they just, on the opposite side where your sacrum is off, in the front, they will kind of press against your round ligament, which is, you have two round ligaments at the bottom half of your uterus. So they just kind of gently apply pressure to the one on the opposite side to loosen it up, because the thinking is the reciprocal side gets tighter. And this is literally just to readjust your sacrum to make more room for the baby. So I've been doing all of those things. It's been a rather hectic week because all of that stuff is rather time consuming, but it's been my absolute focus and that's just what I've been trying to get her to flip. And like I said, I can tell that she's been trying because I can tell, but she has not been able to. And we went into the doctor's appointment on Wednesday, and I kind of knew that she hadn't really turned because of where her feet are and places that I'm used to her kicking and stuff. I can just tell that she hasn't really moved, but she's been trying. I can tell from the amount of pressure, and the kind of the pushing motions have increased dramatically, pushing against my abdomen. So we went into the appointment on Wednesday. Dawn came with me again, knowing that it was very likely that she hadn't flipped, and we'd have to, proceed with the external version, that manual flipping, if she hadn't. And I wanted to try for a vaginal delivery. So we go into the ultrasound. Lo and behold, she's still frank breech in the exact same position, has not budged. But at the same time, they find out that my amniotic fluid levels are pretty low. So I guess the low end of the normal range is 5 to 8. Most people are like anywhere from an 8 above. Anything below a 5, they consider dangerously low and a risk factor. And I was at a 3.6, which is pretty low below 5. So my doctor, sat us down and told us the only, thing to help with the low amniotic fluid, the only thing they do at this point in pregnancy is delivery, and that's either by induction if you have a head down baby, or by C-section if you have a breech baby. So basically on Wednesday, December 23rd, we were pretty convinced we were going to be having a baby. Our plan was, and this was, hatched by our doctor, and we agreed, was that we would go right to the hospital from the doctor's office. Luckily, I'd already packed my bag and everything. We'd go right to the hospital. We'd check into labor and delivery. They'd get me hooked up to an IV. I had to stop drinking water or eat anything because if they're going to operate on you, they want to wait until you've had at least 6 to 8 hours without having ingested anything for safety reasons. So I had to wait a little while because I had eaten lunch and our appointment was like an hour after lunch. So they hooked me up to an IV, which actually took quite a while. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see, but I have a lot of bruising on my arm and my hand here, and there's a little one over here too. You probably can't see because it's on this side, but it took them 5 tries to get the IV in. After the 3rd try, they called in an IV specialist. I forget what they call the person, but it took her 2 tries too. And they said I had really thick, juicy veins, but the needle wasn't advancing or whatever. And it was actually of course I'd rather they get it on the first try. It wasn't painful to me or anything. It was just mildly uncomfortable, but it actually kind of worked out because it was really distracting from I was just in absolute shock because we're not expecting to hear that news. I had no idea that my amniotic fluid levels were low, and that was not something that had really crossed my mind before as a possibility. And actually, I really didn't know that much about it. So it was another shocking doctor's appointment. But anyway, so we got to the hospital, we check in, and they put me in a delivery room, and they finally get me hooked up to the thing, and the ultrasound OB tech comes in, and she is doing an ultrasound, checking on the position of the baby, checking on all her organs. She's perfectly healthy. She's in good health. She looks good. She was moving a lot. Her heart rate was steady between 140 and 150. I was hooked up to the monitors. Everything looked good. And the plan was to try for an external version there if my doctor felt comfortable doing it. But first she wanted to have my levels checked again because when they had done the original ultrasound earlier that day in the doctor's office, the baby, while the amniotic fluid was really low, the baby had a full bladder. And so once she, excreted, once the bladder was emptied, that would obviously make there be more fluid in the amniotic sac. So they wanted to recheck, but they wanted to recheck at the hospital and have me on the IV and prepped and ready basically to deliver either vaginally or by C-section. So something just fell off my light. That was random. Anyway, this is why I'm not talking about anything else this video, guys, because it's super long and I knew it would be. So lo and behold, finally they check the amniotic fluid levels again, and now I'm reading a 5.5. 5.5, my doctor calls on the phone and I'm talking to her and she said, I'm happy with that, I'm comfortable with that to send you home. Let's go ahead with a scheduled manual flipping, the external version, next week. I'm happy to send you home. Let her cook in there a little longer. She looks great. You're at a safe enough range, and hopefully next time we see you, it'll be even higher. Because the previous week, the week before, when I had been at the doctor's appointment and we had found out she was breech, I had a ton of fluid. She said, they didn't give me a reading, but she said there was a lot. So we're not really sure what happened with the amniotic fluid. It just, I don't know, it varies. It fluctuates. Why it got so low, I do not know. I have been very, very thirsty this week. I've been drinking like a fish. I don't know how related that is. I really don't. So we got discharged from the hospital, which again, another shock because we had just been so prepared to have that baby today. The doctor was really convinced that we were gonna have to have the baby that day. And she was she wanted me to be prepared for the C-section because it's hard to flip the baby anyway. It really only has a 50% success rate, the external version. And I have a few things against me. I do have a slightly heart-shaped uterus. I think they call it an arcuate or something like that uterus. I can't remember the technical term now. It's not big, it's slight. I've known that since my fertility journey days. That could be one of the reasons why she's breech, because of the funny shape of my uterus, also the off-kilter sacrum. And another thing against me with the external version is having my anterior placenta, the placenta planted in front. It just creates a bit less room for the baby to really get there. So those are all reasons, possible reasons she could be breech, or it just could be random, but I think those are reasons why she can't turn on her own, because I know she's been trying. Because of the heart-shaped uterus / the sacrum being offset / the placenta in the front. So we get home Wednesday night and I just feel like I'm in a haze. Like I had just gotten into the mindset that I was having a baby that day. And even though I was in utter shock, it was just, I was ready. I was prepared. Luckily, I had finished her nurse. We're ready. Ideally, I'd like to take down the Christmas decorations and do a couple little things around the house first, but those are just really, it doesn't matter, right? So anyway, we get home Wednesday night and we're just like, whoa. So I decided to wait and let that all kind of process and settle in before I wanted to share with you. I've been very upfront and honest throughout this whole pregnancy process, and I wanted to continue to do so, but I also just wanted to feel comfortable in accepting of the current situation. And it's just been a lot of shocking things all at once. But fortunately, the most important thing is she is in perfectly good health. She's looking great. She's measuring right on track. She's moving a ton. So that's really all I can ask for. So now, the current plan is we have an appointment early next week at the hospital. They do the external version, the flipping, at the hospital because it does present a risk of a few things. The baby could go into distress. I don't think it's a huge risk, but it is a risk, in which case they would, if they're able to flip her, I don't know, if she's in distress, they might just do a C-section anyway, or they might induce for a vaginal delivery, but I feel like they'd probably err on the side of caution and do a C-section if she's in distress, regardless of what position she's in. B, did I say A the first time? I don't know. Second of all, what's the other reason? Oh, the procedure could make me actually start to go into labor, in which case they want you there anyway, whether it's successful or not. So if it's not successful, they would schedule a C-section that day, so not to have an emergency situation, or if it is successful, they just keep me there and I would deliver vaginally. The other thing is, we're concerned about the amniotic fluid levels now. So what's gonna happen is, as soon as I get checked in and hooked up, I have to fast the night before because you have to be prepared for the possibility of surgery, so I can't eat or drink anything before the procedure, and unfortunately it's in the afternoon, so it's gonna be a long day of hunger and thirst, but once I get there, they'll hopefully have better luck hooking me up to an IV and I'll get hydrated that way. After they get me all situated, I'll go right back to labor and delivery, get all situated, have the monitors on, have the IV in, be ready to go. We'll have all of our stuff with us because we're just gonna be prepared to deliver whatever way. And they will check the amniotic fluid level again. If the amniotic fluid level is low, my doctor says she wants to move right to a C-section. She doesn't want to try the external version. She says she doesn't feel, after she had some time to think about it on Wednesday, she says she doesn't feel like it would be successful and she'd be more concerned about the risks of distressing the baby with all the other factors. So they're gonna read the amniotic fluid levels first. And if those are normal, then we'll try for the external version. And then depending on whether or not that works, we might have a baby that day, or we might schedule a C-section for later in the week or early the next week. I don't really know. We haven't quite gotten to that point in the conversation, but my feeling is that my doctor's gonna wanna do it sooner than later. Or if it's successful and there's no complications, then I'll get to go home after an observation period. They keep me for 4 hours after the procedure just to monitor the baby and make sure everything's okay. If it's successful and they've managed to flip her and everybody's okay, they'll send me home and will wait for me to go into labor naturally. So that's what's happening, and that's the whole update and everything that's been going on. As you can see, it's just been kind of an emotional whirlwind, and on top of it being the holiday week, and just luckily my family's been amazingly supportive, and it's wonderful to be with everybody, but it's just like a lot to process all at once. So I apologize for the delay in the video and the lack of touching base. I've been trying to be more present on social media the last couple of days so you guys know everything's okay. We will keep you posted. I do not know if I'll be back with a pregnancy update next week or not. I might be, but I very well might not be. If we still haven't delivered a baby by that time, Dawn and I will film the couples Q&A I've been promising. So if you have questions that you'd like to ask Dawn, individually that are pregnancy or baby related, or us as a couple, please leave them in the comments below. Even if we do have a baby, that's something we can film. I feel like that would be an easy enough thing to film, even if I'm recovering with a newborn post C-section. That's something we could probably film down, in the next month or so, if you guys are still interested in seeing it. So please leave your questions for that below. I just don't know when that video would be up. I can't promise, in case I am at the hospital all next week, because of with a C-section, they keep you significantly longer. So anyway, that was a whirlwind. I might see you next week for an update. I might not. I will keep you guys posted on social media if there's not going to be an update for whatever reason. So you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I realize that was a lot of information, but I just wanted to keep you guys posted and give you the real deal. And oh yeah, I will show you my belly because I'm wearing a really cute Christmas shirt that I got off Etsy that I love. And I will show you my 37-week belly, and I think I will post a 37-week update on my blog. I think so. I'm not gonna promise that, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do that. And I'll go through all my stats there. If you guys wanna, see what's been up other than what I just talked about for the last half an hour. Anyway, if you watched this video, thank you for watching, and I so appreciate all of the kind words and support you guys left on my social media on Wednesday when I shared about the low amniotic fluid experience. I know I hadn't shared about the breech yet, but I hope you understand that I was just waiting for more information, and I'm kind of glad I did, because now I could give you the full picture. So I may or may not see you next week, but I will definitely keep you updated on social media if I'm not going to see you next week. And I hope you guys are all well, enjoying a very merry holiday, time spent with loved ones, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.